What's happening, folks? Luca would like to know as well. We are returning to the soundtrack to Trigun. Are you going to come up, Luca? And yes, we're going to listen to a track. I was confused. Apparently, the collection of tracks I have in my soundtrack folder from this show come from all three, a smattering of tracks from all three of the soundtrack releases, meaning there was the first Donuts, then there's like the second Donut Happy Pack, and then there's the Spicy Stewed Donut. And that last one is where this track, Blue Funk, comes from. And it's another tune composed by series composer Imahori Tsuneo, and it features guitar work, which suggests that it is, in fact, the series composer on the guitar itself. But yes, this tune features, I think, at a lot of moments near the end of episodes when the conflict or the issue or problem, at least the more immediate one, again, as the show goes along, it starts to get longer arced, meaning it's more and more about the ultimate storyline, whereas in the first 10 even episodes, they're not exactly self-contained. There is a thread running through all of it in terms of Vash moving around and Meryl and Millie following him and some other people that come in, but by and large, the first dozen or so episodes are very self-contained relative to the back half of the show. But yes, there's a number of moments, again, especially in the first half of the show, where as the end of the episode approaches, when we learn what was going on in the first place and how Vash's actions maybe help to resolve whatever conflict was at hand, this track plays. It's another one which has a bit of this rustic, rural, frontier town type of sound, which, given the atmosphere or the environment of the planet they're on in the show, is of course very fitting because it's sort of like a futuristic Old West type of show, meaning it's in the future, there's technology beyond that in our current era, but the lives and the locations that the story takes place in and with are very Old West style. So let's give it a listen. This is Blue Funk by Imahori Tsuneo, and I believe we hear him on guitar as well, and it's from the Spicy Stewed Donut, which is one of 3 soundtrack releases that came out for the original Trigun anime. two things. One, it is that rustic country type of sound, but mixed with blues rock, which again, that's one of the major flavors of the entire soundtrack of Trigun. And the main electric guitar riffing in the middle of the track, especially, which again I believe is done by series composer Imahori Tsuneo, that is especially bluesy. So yes, rustic, rural, country, but also very bluesy. I enjoy all those hand drums. I remembered there was some regular drum set type of drums, but I didn't remember all those rolling and rapid fire hand drum flourishes. So that was a fresh element that I was not recalling in the moment. And yeah, I like the way it's a bit meandering, it's a bit, not languid, but it's not super energetic and driving, but it still has some energy to it. So I think it's a fitting tune, and it is very much, I can think of multiple episodes where we get to the end, and whether it's Meryl doing a voiceover about Vash, or maybe talking to Millie about Vash, or even Wolfwood, and if you haven't seen the show, these names might not mean anything to you, but yeah, like Wolfwood thinking in his head about who Vash is and how he somehow managed to escape a situation without having to use any violence toward other people. I think it's often used at the end of an episode when things are resolved, even if there's still something that will lead into the next episode. And so it's sort of it makes me think of the culmination and conclusion of some of these individual episode arcs as I hear it. So top tune, I very much like the overall flavor of this soundtrack, which, as I said, is heavily like blues rock with a bit of folk thrown in. So yeah, more coming. And as I said, I have a handful of tracks from each of the 3 major releases, which wasn't the way I remembered it. But again, this soundtrack folder goes back to a previous computer I had like more than 20 years ago. So some of this stuff has been essentially passed down from different computers of mine. And as this computer gets older, I don't always remember things perfectly. So bear with me as we go through it. But Luca and I will be here for more. Hopefully you are too. Yeah, you can go into the chair. I'm wary of picking her up as horizontal cat. The last, few weeks that I've been doing that, she decides to turn and bite my thumb. So in this case, we will let her go back to being free range cat. In any case, let me know what you think. I will see you next time. Peace.